Hello, I'm David Marsh. I'm a farmer from Boorowa, down in the southwest slopes of New South Wales, and we're having a conversation about what are the things we think about or are useful for planning for dry times, or drought as we often call it. One of the things that we've found very useful over the years is we've tried to introduce a number of plants that will grow at any time of the year when rainfall occurs. So the big benefit of that is that instead of just having plants that want to grow in the cool season, which is what we mostly had, we've introduced a number of used to be local native summer growing species, but they disappeared for over 100 years, but we've brought some seed back in. We used to mainly have cool season growing annuals and perennial grasses that grew in the cool months. Now we've introduced some, this is one of the species, it's a native growing C4 species. So this grass is a C4, so it grows in the summer. We get half our rainfall in the summer. The rainfall at Boorowa is evenly spaced, 50 mils a month over 120 years, but around that incredible variability. So this plant, when it gets wet in the warm months, it produces a massive amount of feed very quickly. It seeds very quickly, and we're often grazing this grass when it's got seed on it. So it'll go through the cattle unharmed and it'll come up in other seasons. So we've been getting a bit of a mixture of seed from Colin Syce up at Gulgong. This is one of the species in that mix. The other one's a thing called arm grass, which is a type of native millet. And the third one of the mix is a thing called Chloris truncata, which is the umbrella grass. They're all perennial grasses. They all grow in summer. So when we get rain in summer, we're very happy because these grasses can take advantage of it, and they produce a lot of feed very quickly. And they go to seed, and the seed comes up. They spread their own seed. The umbrella grass rolls across the country, and it spreads its own seed. What I've been doing is spreading it myself. I just have a bucket of seed on the bike. As I'm going around, I'll do strips, just let it dribble out of my hand, and it probably do these strips about 30 metres apart, and they come up very quickly, and within a couple of years they've got seed on them, and the cattle are spreading the seed, and it's amazing to me how quickly they're covering the country. So it's a very cheap thing. You don't need any machinery. You can sow it through a disc seeder, but you don't need to. It's very expensive seed, so you don't want to be sowing whole paddocks of it, but you can establish it by just doing strips and letting it spread itself. Some of the species that are very useful, but they've disappeared out of this district for maybe 100 years because of the ways livestock have been managed, where livestock have been grazed for long periods of time on the one piece of land. We're now moving our animals around. We've got 100 paddocks, a bit over 100 paddocks. At the moment we're moving our animals daily. We've got 600 cattle. The farm's 800 hectares. The other thing, of course, is that we plan our grazing, and we know how much grass we've got all the time, and we know how long that grass is going to last, the stock that we've got. So we're able to see a long way ahead in our grazing plan and begin to reduce numbers if that's indicated by the dwindling amount of grass for the livestock, and we can reduce numbers a long way ahead of anyone else. And that means we're getting good prices when we're selling, or we're taking, in our case we've got agistment running here at the moment, so we're able to manage the landscape, and the people who own the cattle have wanted to take cattle away when we've wanted to reduce numbers the last couple of years. So we started reducing numbers here by 40% back in November 2017 when we had a weak spring, and then we had a further reduction of 30% of those that we'd retained in May 2018. Now that has meant that we've been able to go through a very dry period with a lot of grass. We've got a lot of cover here where a lot of farms around us have been grazed out. Now it has rained here now. We've had a couple of storms, one in January, one in February, and the other day we had 56 millimetres. So the drought's not over, but the drought hasn't really affected us too much because we've got the numbers right. and that's incredibly important. It's not only important financially, but it's also important from an environmental perspective and also from a social anxiety point of view, because farmers hate seeing their farms get bare, and they seem at times unable to manage so that their farms don't get bare. And that is a skill that we all need to try and get, is to know how much grass we've got and match the numbers to the grass, and that's dynamic, it's not static. And probably one of the biggest things we've got wrong, and I was definitely in this category, was that I never knew how much grass I had, and I always got too optimistic to reduce numbers when I should have been. But being able to do that is a powerful tool.